presentation that covers. We're going to start today with a presentation that covers uh, all of the kind of general information about the four grant programs, and then we're going to move into some questions that you have about that generally, and then we're going to move into breakout sessions for each of the different programs, and you'll be able to use the breakout rooms button at the bottom of your screen to move between the different ones, so you can go and get an idea of what program is the best fit for you. You can add questions in the chat. You can use the hand raise function. We really encourage everyone to feel empowered to ask follow-ups, even if they're on a follow-up on someone else's question. We really want to have this build community understanding. We have a lot to cover today, so I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to hand it over to Caitlin Cerna, and we are going to start with our generalized presentation. Caitlin.
Thank you. All right, let me get my screen sharing here. And then in the meantime, if the grant administrators, if Heather, if you can start by introducing yourself and then just call on another GA while I get this going.
Hi, folks. I'm Heather Omand. I'm the grant administrator for the Research and Education Grant Program, and I'll pass to Nevin.
Hello, I'm Nevin Dawson. I am one of the grant administrators for the Professional Development Program. My colleague Katie Campbell Nelson will be joining us soon. She's the coordinator for the program.
And Emma.
Sure thing. Hey folks, I'm Emma. I'm a grant program specialist with Northeast SARE, and I am helping out today with the Farming Community Grant Program.
All right. And are folks seeing the slide deck here? Lovely. Okay. Well, I am Caitlin Cerna. I run the Research for Novel Approaches Grant Program and graduate student, but that's a different cycle. And I'm going to go through the brief presentation today, starting with these are our four grants. So these are the four grant administrators, or the Farming Community Grant Administrator, Leonce, is currently on parental leave. So Emma is helping fill in today, and we have proper contact information at the end and are updating it on our website and whatnot so that you know who to contact if you have questions about farming community. And then just to note, even though the call for proposal is out now in 2025, we call them our 2026 CFPs because that's when they're going to be awarded. So today's Q&A session, we have these three main components that Vander already went over. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly just to orient us. Keep in mind that there is no new information in this presentation. Everything is information coming from our CFP, just presented a little bit differently. And don't worry about missing any information either. We will share these slides with you as well as a recording and the FAQ log from the main session, and each breakout session is going to be updated on our website as soon as we get those cleaned up and are able to after today's session. So Northeast SARE stands for Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. It's a regional program that funds innovative farmer-driven projects that advance sustainable agriculture in the Northeast. And we support practical research, education, outreach initiatives that improve farm profitability. They protect our natural resources, strengthen communities. And then just as a map here, our region as part of the Northeast spans from West Virginia to Maine and includes Washington, D.C. So everything I just said about what we fund really comes down to two main things: our legislative priorities and our outcome statement. So by law, Northeast SARE's funding and the proposals that it awards, it must improve farming in at least one of the following ways. So the first priority is to maintain and enhance the quality and productivity of soil. This is really trying to say to take care of soil so that it stays healthy and productive. The second one, conserve soil, water, energy, natural resources, and fish and wildlife habitat. This is just emphasizing the importance of saving natural resources like water, energy. Number three is maintain and enhance the quality of surface and groundwater, or protect water, both, on the surface and underground. Fourth priority is to protect the health and safety of persons involved in the food and farm system. And this is to keep people who work in farming and food systems protected, healthy, and safe. Number 5 is to promote the well-being of animals, and 6, to increase employment opportunities in agriculture to create more jobs. So these legislative priorities you're going to see kind of listed plainly, but also kind of scattered out in theme throughout the CFPs. And reviewers are going to be looking for proposals connected to one or more of them. The other thing that reviewers will be looking for is your connection to the outcome statement. And that is, how is your project or proposal benefiting farmers in the Northeast? So we do, the work that we do and the projects that we fund are really grounded in the outcome statement. And this is, kind of the North Star for our program design. So just like the legislative priorities, you'll see this kind of threaded throughout all of the CFPs. Now we're going to do a brief overview of the 4 large grants. And so while you learn about each of these large grants, now's a good time to kind of be thinking about which breakout room you might want to hop into to ask program-specific questions. And again, you can hop from room to room. You can come back to another Q&A in the future if you have more things that you want to ask us. But we're going to do a quick run through of the 4 grant programs specifically. We're going to start with the timeline. So there are 2 submission dates this year, depending on which program that you are applying to. R&E, PDP, and novel approaches, so research education, professional development, and novel approaches are due February 2nd. And then the farming community grant is due 3 weeks later on February 23rd. All of our grant programs have a strict 5 p.m. Eastern deadline, and all grant decisions will be made at the same time, even though there's that 3-week submission delay. I will say, one of the things I'm very proud of at Northeast SARE is that we are incredibly communicative if the timeline becomes delayed or if you need to be notified of any changes. I promise, we adhere to the timeline really, really well, and we will reach out if anything changes. So just trust this until you hear otherwise. And there are a few really key changes for this year's CFP to highlight. These are listed on page 2 of everyone's CFP, regardless of program, but I just want to summarize them quickly here. So we anticipated a shorter timeline. We streamlined both the proposal questions and the review process to try to make things as efficient as possible. So if you've applied to our large grants before, you'll notice a major change that we've eliminated the pre-proposal stage. Applicants now submit their full proposal concept in a single application. This is that one time that you will be submitting. And to further simplify that process, you are not required to submit project team verification or IRB and IACUC documentation at the time of application. Instead, you're going to check a box to confirm that you have agreed and you understand the policy and terms and the requirements of if your project became funded. And if your proposal is recommended for funding, we will ask for that documentation later. So it still is very much required. We're just trying to take out a piece of the administrative burden for, honestly, both of us so that we can get applications coming through and processed as quickly as possible. And for the PDP and R&E projects, we normally require a draft verification tool, such as a survey or a spreadsheet or some other tracking tool at this stage in the process. And it's the same kind of thing. While it is required with the application, you will not need to provide that until the awards are finalized and we're further along in the process. So in other words, these documents are normally uploaded and you normally accompany them with your proposal at the time of submission. You do not need to submit them with your proposal. You will need to have it ready and still prepare to have that information available when the grant administrator might request it. And then the other major change is the review process, which we will cover next. So we've made really big improvements in objectivity and transparency this year and want to walk you through what that looks like a little bit. The first thing is the review rubric, which you'll find linked in the Appendix D of each program's call for proposal. And this is your roadmap. It shows exactly what reviewers are looking for when they are scoring your proposal. Every rubric begins with what we call a comprehensive review. And this means that your proposal must clearly align with Northeast SARE priorities. Those are the legislative priorities, outcome statement, those things that I already covered here. And they're going to be looking for 3 core elements throughout your proposal on relevance to the program and organization, innovation, and impact. And these are all defined in your rubric, so definitely check it out there. Beyond that, the specific questions are going to vary by grant program, but they're organized in topic the same in the CFP as they are in the rubric. And I'm going to show you a piece of the rubric in a moment, and then those are all in Appendix D. So just to reiterate, the rubric is your best friend. It is literally the same thing that reviewers are using to score your proposal. So you guys have the same information to understand how your proposal is being assessed. So definitely look at that. And then just a quick run through of how the review process will work. It starts with an initial review panel. These are independent panels made up of farmers, researchers, nonprofit staff, ag service providers, and they are scoring each proposal using that rubric. The reviews at this stage are a single blind review, and every question plus the overall proposal gets scored based on the criteria that you'll see in the rubric. From there, top-ranked proposals move on to an oversight review panel, and their job is to make sure that the proposals meet program requirements, reflect organizational goals, and comply with eligibility. And then after that, the oversight panel puts forward and recommends a slate of proposals for funding, and that slate goes to the Northeast SARE Administrative Council, which is our governing body here at Northeast SARE, and they are who make the final call for funding decisions. They are also who oversees our budget and prepares the program allocations for each funding year. And here's a little snapshot. Each program has that in an individual review rubric in Appendix D, and then something new this year within there as well is that we have moved to a 10-point scale. And we have that broken up into more detail in everyone's program-specific rubrics. All right, eligibility. The list of people who can apply has not changed. We've updated the language to make it a little bit more clear that farms, farmers, farm employees, farming community groups are absolutely eligible. So the information hasn't changed, it just is presented a little bit differently in the CFPs. So I just want to name that. But who can apply? Extension, colleges, universities, for-profit businesses. This includes consultants and farmers, municipalities, nonprofits, tribal governments, state and federal departments. One important note is that applicants and host organizations can be located outside the Northeast region as long as the project activities and the audience it serves are primarily within the Northeast. And then finally, with the launch of our farming community grant last year, we introduced our technical assistance program. Technical assistance, or TA, is available only for applicants in the farming community grant program. If you have questions about that, hop into the farming community grant breakout room, and we'll provide you an email so that you can reach out if you have questions about that. This is normally something that Leonce, our associate director, oversees, so we have some support from staff covering that while they're out on leave. I promise I'm almost done talking. So all of our grant programs share some common features. First, Northeast SARE values all ways of knowings and accepts a wide variety of sources of information, which really range from academic research, personal experience, community voices, and just other knowledge and resources that we have in community. And we also recognize that it takes many forms. So this could be field, lab, social science, you name it. Most of our projects are running for 3 years, except the farming community, which is 1 or 2 years. And every grant requires an advisory committee, and we really just encourage authentic engagement with those members. This is something that you'll see in the rubric, but reviewers are looking to really understand and feel confident that the engagement with advisory committees is not just something on paper, but it's authentic and true within your proposal. And funding requests should match your project's scope, duration, and outreach plans. So typical award ranges are listed in the CFP for each program, but we don't actually have caps on the maximum that you can request for the programs. So it's going to be kind of anchored around or relative to the scope, duration, and outreach plans. Measurable impacts can be environmental, financial, social. If you are doing research, your work should follow standard protocols like IRB or IACUC when relevant, and mixed method approaches are welcome. Finally, all projects require annual progress reports and a final report at the end of your project. Now to talk about how programs differ. Each program serves a different audience and funds a different type of work. So R&E projects include robust farmer education program that kind of leads to on-farm changes. Research can be included, but education is the core component of the two words in that name there. Professional development funds education programming as well, but this is more for service providers who work with farmers. The goal is for those providers to apply what they learn in their work or with farmers and community. And then these two programs, the R&E and PDP, are those two that require a performance target. Think of this as kind of your outcome statement or your outcome of what you expect is going to happen. So performance target and those like measurable things are detailed out in your proposal, and those are some of the information that we'll be collecting later on. And then there's novel approaches, which is proof of concept research. You're testing new practices with strong potential. And finally, farming community. This is our newest grant program that launched last year. It is community focused and really centers around farm leadership. We had over 150 submissions last year and only 14 were funded. So it is very competitive, but I don't want that to discourage you. We did, and I'll show you in just a moment, we did increase the allocation for this grant funding. So there is a little bit more funding here than some of the other programs. And funding starts at $30,000. There are no caps, but the typical ranges are listed here. So based both on funding available and the increase in proposal submissions, the competitiveness of our programs has been increasing in recent years. We delayed our program launch this year. We don't really know what's going to happen. There's a lot of people that registered for these sessions, so the application pool might be a lot larger than usual, but we also have an increase in funding and programs that are available that will be funding. So these numbers are based on the pre-proposal to invitation process for these first three programs. So the difference between like the 40 and 30% versus 8 and 9, that drastic difference is because we normally would have a pre-proposal, full proposal, like invite process. It's probably going to be more like under 15% for all of the proposals. This can change. We don't know from year to year. We've been along for many years. So if we pull data from 20 years ago, we had a lot less proposals than we are now. So this can change, but this will give you a little bit of insight of the grant allocations available. Once you've decided to apply, this is what you do next. You need to make sure that you have an account on projects.sare.org. The person who starts the proposal in the system will automatically be listed as the applicant, but you can add other team members as editors and they can help with the submission. All proposals must be submitted through this online system, and late applications will not be accepted. There are no exceptions, and the system will kick you out after the deadline and you won't be able to submit after that. So we strongly recommend submitting well before the 5 p.m. deadline in case you run into technical issues. You can unsubmit your proposal and make changes at any point prior to the deadline. Just make sure you don't forget to resubmit it again because it's actually, it's truly unsubmitting and taking it out of our queue. So the bottom line, just give yourself some breathing room and submit early so that we can help if needed. To start your writing process, my personal suggestion is to take the Word version of the call for proposal that we have available on our website and begin drafting answers to part 5, where the proposal questions and instructions begin. Other tips are to start early, use the rubric, it's your roadmap. Aim to submit at least a day before the deadline to avoid last minute stress or technical issues. And call in friends and colleagues to help proofread your proposal to ensure that the average reader can understand it. So never underestimate the power of proofreading and making sure that you're building in time to do that. And then finally, don't overlook your budget. Preparing and submitting a clear and accurate budget is really critical. So your first step there is going to download the official budget template from the CFP appendix or on our website. And this is the only format that we accept. The budget must be completed in Excel and uploaded as part of your proposal. PDFs or images of the budget won't work. You can download and work on the budget in Google Sheets and, upload it back into the system as Excel. So just reach out if you need assistance, depending on what software you are working. But when filling it out, only information should be entered into white cells. Other cells are color-coded to indicate they're locked to protect formulas. You want to provide clear, specific line items and justifications, avoid vague terms. And in general, the template look has changed. The information that we're requesting is the same as usual. But you can download this template on our website, and also our Appendix C has been updated to correlate to the budget template here. With it like aligns a little bit better. It's going to go in the same order in both documents. So this has been consolidated. And the other place where we have made a change is that you no longer need separate tabs for each year. So your total project budget is in a single sheet. If you are including subawards in your project proposal, each subaward needs their own actual separate budget as well. Again, all of this is in the CFP and in the instructions within the appendix and the budget template. There is an instruction page on the template because I know I'm going through this quick, but just make sure that you're reviewing your budget carefully before uploading, and make sure that your totals match what you're going to put on the online system. And to wrap up, all the grant administrators here are available to help answer questions beyond today, so don't hesitate to reach out. As we get closer to the due dates, grant admins see a surge in volumes of inquiries. So reach out sooner than later. We might not be able to get to every single question if everyone's asking at 4:50 p.m. on the day of submission. So as a reminder, the grant administrators for each program, their emails are directly here. And again, Lance can't be here today, so Emma will be facilitating that breakout room. And you can email this Farming Communities grant email address, and it will route to the appropriate people. So before we break away, we have a few minutes to ask any questions about Northeast SARE overall to help kind of distinguish what breakout room you might be wanting to join. And after that, we will move to breakout rooms.
Caitlin, it's Dana Clark here. You reviewed my question. I'm not sure which breakout room I should go into. Should it be the farming community?
I recognize the name, but I will be honest, a lot of people emailed me today.
I have two children that are handicapped.
The apple orchard?
Yes.
Yeah. I think farming community would be a good starting place.
Thank you.
We had a general question about our ability to submit. So we have someone on staff who's going to serve as potentially a grant reviewer with you guys, and we were wondering if that compromised the organization's ability to submit an application.
Yes, if somebody is a grant reviewer at the time of the cycle, they are no longer eligible to submit if it's within the same organization.
So the entire organization is not allowed to submit.
No, it's individual based. So if the individual is a reviewer and their organization is submitting, they can't review for that grant program. But the
Understood.
organization can still submit a proposal.
Okay, and does it when you say program, like there's four different grants being offered, if they're a reviewer for, let's say, the community grant, does that mean our organization with separate people could not apply for the community grant? Or as long as the individuals are separate, because we have a lot of different people here, so we could do different people and that would be okay?
Yeah, we don't really think about this as the organization. We think about it in terms of the reviewer. So if the reviewer is named in your proposal, they can't review this cycle at all. And so you might want to pass that on to them. But your organization can reply, can do whatever, can apply however you would like.
Understood. Perfect.
Barry, got a question?
Yeah, along that same thread, I'm just curious. I'm a farmer that's been a recipient of a SARE farmer grant, and would that disqualify me from being the project leader of a research and education grant? No.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. I would say, why don't we open the breakout rooms and folks can hop into those. And we will not be coming back here as a group. At the top of the hour, the grant administrator in the breakout room will kind of wrap things up and end from there. But you have our contact information. If you need anything else, please reach out.